ESPN just released their top 100 players in the NBA list, and to say they got it wrong would be an understatement. Some of these rankings make absolutely no sense, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't think the people who made this list actually watch basketball. Some guys were ranked way higher than they should have been, and then of course there's a bunch that were very underrated. Here is 8 of the biggest problems with ESPN's top 100 list, and wait till the end because I think one of the best young players in the league is ranked way too high. Before we start looking at the problems on the list, we have to look at some of the biggest snubs from the top 100. And I want to start this off by saying Kyle Kuzma definitely deserved a spot in the top 100. I understand that his stats were inflated because of how bad the Washington Wizards are, but last season he averaged 22 points and 7 rebounds a game on alright efficiency. I'm not saying he should crack the top 50, but I think he definitely deserves a spot in the bottom half. I look at some other names who were left off the list too, and I have to bring it to the public's eye. TJ McConnell is one of the best role players in the league, and he showed that during the Pacers' run to the ECF. And I know Philadelphia fans don't like him, but Tobias Harris has played over 70 games in each of the past 3 seasons, and averaged an efficient 17 points last year. Trey Murphy III had a low turnover, high 3-point percentage season last year, while averaging 15 points a night and being one of the best players for the Pelicans. Jalen Johnson and Jonathan Kuminga had breakout seasons last year, and if we're talking about potential, I think they both have an argument to be on the list. I'm not saying these guys all deserve to be on the list, but Kuzma definitely deserves a spot. And the other guys I mentioned have pretty good arguments. Now that we talked about snubs, let's look at the problems with the first half of the list starting from the 100th best. Chris Paul is ranked 99th, and if we're being honest, he shouldn't be ranked over the snubs that we mentioned. Paul is one of the oldest players in the NBA, and last season he only played in 58 games, and his stats weren't anything impressive. He averaged under 10 points a night, and even though 7 assists per game is pretty good, that's really the only thing he has going for him in 2025. Sure, CP3 and Wemby is going to be an awesome lob threat, but as a player, Paul is not top 100 anymore. Another huge problem I saw was Herbert Jones being ranked 97, and that's probably the most disrespectful ranking. At the end of the day, Herb Jones is a top 10 defender in the league, no question, and he's probably even higher than that. He finished 5th in D-point voting and made first team all defense, so his impact on that side of the ball is insane. Even though he's not the most versatile offensive player in the league, he still found a way to average 11 points per game while shooting 42% from 3 on 3.6 attempts per night. Al Horford ranked right above him at 96, and I can't even begin to explain how terrible that is. My third big problem with this list starts in the 80s, and that's the fact that Naz Reid is ranked 87th. I'm not going to sit here and overhype Naz, but at the end of the day, he was the 6th man of the year last season, and his production for a bench player is off the charts. 4 spots later is Marcus Smart, and keep in mind he played in 20 total games for Memphis last year, and in those games he wasn't very efficient and averaged under 5 assists per game. Naz should definitely be above him, and if we're being honest, he should not be in the top 100. If it were up to me, I would send him and Chris Paul on their merry way to the unranked section of the NBA. As the list moves on, a lot of these selections are fair, but some are pretty surprising and shows the state of the NBA today. Zach LaVine being ranked number 74 is pretty shocking, and he should probably be higher. But at the end of the day, he did only play 25 games last season. And in those games, he definitely regressed, so it's tough to rank him anywhere on the list. The next big problem that seems like rage bait from ESPN is that Cade Cunningham is ranked 67th. I know he's not an all-star, and I know his team has never been good, but that's not his fault at all. Cunningham has improved as a scorer every year of his career, and I honestly don't know how he dished out 7.5 assists per game with Killian Hayes as his backcourt partner. Does he have more to prove? Yes, but he should definitely be higher than this. There's some other nitpicky stuff we can look at through the 60s and 50s, but the one that sticks out is Derek Lively. He's ranked 56th overall, and he's 1 spot higher than Darius Garland. Garland has struggled the past couple of years, I know, but you can't convince me that Lively is better in any capacity. Lively had a solid rookie year and complimented Luka Doncic well in the playoffs, but it's not like he was spectacular, and he does not deserve a top 60 player in the NBA ranking. Keep in mind I'm harsh on this ranking because Lively was put ahead of guys like Josh Hart, Kobe White, Desmond Bane, and of course DG, and I disagree heavily. Also, who thought it was a good idea to rank RJ Barrett at 53? Spoiler alert, he is way too high. I know I sound like a hater, and I won't lie, when he was traded to the Raptors, his play was awesome. But at the end of the day, Barrett is not right outside the top 50 players. I would have him closer to the 70s and 80s. LaMelo Ball was ranked number 50, and there are a ton of guys who aren't as talented as him ranked above him. But honestly, I don't hate this placement because LaMelo has such a hard time staying on the court. Last season, he played 22 games, and the year before that, he only played 36. He had an awesome season opener with the Hornets this season, and I do think he'll climb his way back up. But if he can't stay healthy, it's hard to rank him. Now we move on to problem number 5, and James Harden being number 41 is exactly it. He is still definitely a really good player, but he moved up 2 spots from last year, and if anything, I think last season proved he's on the decline. They have him above guys like Pascal Siakam, Jalen Williams, and DeJounte Murray, and at this point, I just don't know. Since Kawhi Leonard is missing some time, he might be able to go back to his all-star form, but it's pretty clear he isn't the same player as he once was. Trae Young being 37 seems a bit low, but I don't hate it because his defense is pretty rough. I still think Young is one of the more underrated players in the NBA though, because he averages over 25 points and 10 assists pretty much every year, and they still find a way to snub him from all-star teams. Leave us a comment down below on who you guys think is the most underrated player in the NBA. Moving on to 32, Chet Holmgren seems pretty high considering he was only a rookie last year, and he didn't win any awards or accolades. I understand the hype behind him, and the only reason he didn't win Rookie of the Year is because of Victor Wembanyama, but I just want to see a little bit more. Right before Chet, finishing at number 31 is Jamal Murray, and this one is definitely wrong. Murray is an awesome player, we all know that, but towards the end of last season, he looked pretty rough. To rank him over guys like Trae Young, Scottie Barnes, and even Rudy Gobert just seems wrong. He's never made an all-star team, and I know that's because the West is stacked with guard talent, but still, you can't put him over those guys. Also, can someone tell me why Domantas Sabonis fell 7 spots to number 29 this year, after leading the NBA in triple-doubles and rebounding? I know the Kings missed the playoffs, but Sabonis was one of the best players in the NBA and got snubbed from the All-Star team. Zion Williamson is number 27, and I know some people were mad about this, but last season he played in 70 games. And we all know when he's healthy, he's one of the best talents athletically in the league. He sat out the Pelicans season opener, but that was only because of an illness, so there's still optimism that he can have a healthy season. As you go down the rest of the list from 27, there's a couple small things I would change, but not major. Damian Lillard is at 23, which I don't hate, but I know some people looked at his play last season and want him down lower. And then after him, it's Kawhi Leonard at 22, who's going to miss a portion of the NBA season after missing the end of the playoffs last year. I wouldn't mind him being lower just because it seems like he won't be playing consistently for the rest of his career, but we all know how much talent he has. Before we enter the teens, they have Paul George at 21 and Ja Morant at 20, and for the first time in this video, I'm going to give ESPN their props. I think PG is overhated, and last year he played in 74 games while getting buckets efficiently. And I know Ja only played in 9 games, but everyone knows how good he is. I think these are very fair rankings. As we transition into the teens, I don't think there's a lot wrong with it. Some people might say Jaylen Brown at 14 is a little high, but at the end of the day, he just won Finals MVP. And he's awesome at both ends of the floor, so I'm fine with it. Anthony Davis at 13 sounds good, and Jalen Brunson has definitely earned a spot at number 12 after last year. But one of my biggest problems comes with number 11, and that's Victor Wembanyama. Is Wemby going to be one of the best players in the NBA someday? Yes. Is he already one of the best young players in the league? Yes. But I don't think he deserves that 11 spot just yet. He had a historic rookie season, but ESPN put him over some perennial all-stars. And you gotta keep in mind, these guys have been playing at an elite level for years. I think after this season, Wemby will probably deserve that 11 spot or even higher, but as of right now, I need to see a little more. Are we wrong for this take, or do you think Wembanyama should be a little lower? There's always going to be controversy with the top 10 because this is who ESPN claims is the absolute best of the best. And I do have a couple problems with these rankings. Anthony Edwards at 10 and Kevin Durant at 9 seems very fair, and I'm very glad they didn't put Ant in the top 5. Because similar to Wemby, I need to see more. But 10 is definitely a good spot and definitely fair. My biggest problem comes with number 8, and that's exactly where they rank Joel Embiid. I get it, Embiid just missed the season opener and he said he'll never play back-to-backs again. But at the end of the day, he is definitely higher than 8 because of his talent level. There are very few guys in the history of the league that could do what he does at his size, so he should definitely be at least top 6. LeBron James is 7, which is a little generous, but he's still amazing, and I honestly like Stephen Curry at 6. Jason Tatum at number 5 definitely has NBA fans mad, but honestly I don't hate it at all. He just won a championship and he was first team All-NBA, so he definitely deserves a spot in the upper echelon of NBA players. 4 is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which is a fair ranking, and Giannis Antetokounmpo came in at 3. And I think both of those rankings are good because they can score efficiently and play defense. And then Luka Doncic at number 2 is a bit controversial, but it's not a bad take at all. He just made it to the NBA Finals, and when you watch him play, he's clearly one of the best talents in the NBA. There was no question with number 1 being Nikola Jokic because he is clearly the best player in the NBA. So shout out to ESPN for getting it right. He's won 3 out of the last 4 MVPs, and he's a triple-double machine, so I like it. Let us know in the comments if you liked ESPN's list or had a problem with it like us. And as always, click on the screen for more basketball content.